Almighty Lord, even though the world pulls me away, I stop here and now seek your presence. Prepare us, O Lord, bring calm to our heart and clarity to our minds. Fill me with your Holy Spirit. Let us know that no matter what happens, we are at peace with my God. And from the place of security, let us all move forward with confidence, and may the meeting's outcome be favorable to our eyes. Pour yourself out over all of us, including our speaker, Rohini. May we see with the eyes of Christ, hear with the ears of the Lord, and speak with the words of the Spirit. Mold our desires, O blessed Lord. Let us want what you want. Let us trust and believe that in all things you are at work for our good. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. In the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Over to you, Melvin.
Thank you. Thank you, Amrita. I now request Rohini to please take over the session.
So I'll introduce Rohini to everyone. So it's an honest pleasure to introduce Rohini. She's a work psychologist with over 2 decades of experience in the field of talent development. She's the founder of Synapses, a talent development and HR consulting firm that focuses on enabling and empowering growth in people capabilities and driving organizational success. Rohini has spent over 15,000 man-hours in facilitating various sessions in behavioral skills, especially in the area of talent development. As a certified coach, Rohini has enabled leaders to navigate leadership challenges and complexities with ease and giving them breakthrough insights. Rohini is passionate about mentoring and loves sharing her expertise and guidance to all those starting out on their own, as well as in mentoring youth. She's happily married for over 17 years, has a daughter aged 15, a son aged 10, and she loves to cook, sing, or dance to rock and roll in her free time. So, Rohini, over to you. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Christabel, for that kind introduction. And thank you, Dimensions, for this opportunity. Welcome, all of you who've come here. I must say that as we delve into problem solving, you just solved a problem today. The problem of figuring out how you get up this early on a Saturday morning and log into this webinar on time. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that you've spared your Saturday morning to invest in learning. And I look forward to your interactions. If there are any questions, you can put it in the chat box. We'll take questions at the end. And yeah, would also look forward to you learning, and we all have a time of reflection and learning today. Yeah. So I'd like to do a quick pulse check. You know, it's Saturday morning, it's really early. I thought it'd be really nice to know what is the mood in this room. And so if you can just use your mobile phone to scan the QR codes that you see, it will allow you to put one word to describe what you're feeling right now. Just one word. All you need to do is type in your word, click submit, and you'll probably be able to see what's the mood in the room today as we start off. Curious, wow. Fresh, okay, Saturday morning, 7:45, fresh. That's nice to know. Enthusiastic, wow. I'm so loving this audience. Okay, let's see what others are feeling. Learning, all set to learn. energetic. Roshan, I think there is some bit of...
Yes, yes, yes.
Are you able to scan the
No, no,
code?
I cannot scan the code. I cannot
I
Okay,
scan.
put it on the chat.
just put it on the chat. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
It's just
Thank
success.
no problem.
Okay.
No one. Thank you, thank you. Just put it on the chat. I can see the
Sure.
chat as well. Happy, happy, enthusiastic, energetic,
Rohini, exuberance.
exuberance, excellent. So happy to hear that. Yeah, those of you for any reason are unable to, use the QR code, put your word in the chat box. We'll still feel your energy and emotions. Yeah.
Rohini, the scanner, your QR code is at the bottom or the side. It's not scannable.
It's
You have to
not
just move it to
scannable.
the center. Yeah. Put this toward the center of the screen.
It's actually stationary, so I'm not really sure. What you can also do is this www.menti.com, but don't worry too much about it. If you're not able to, just Timothy, put that in the chat box. It's just more to know how you're feeling. And that we're starting on a happy note. So thank you. I'm so happy. I thought I'd hear sleepy. Don't know what I'm doing Saturday morning, but I'm hearing gratitude by Brenda. Desmond says happy. So thank you. I think we're going to bring all this positive energy in the room. And that's what I'd like you to keep as we go through this session. I have one more question for you. And that is mainly to understand what you do. And the idea for that is just to get a gauge of, yes, Joseph, tasks on mind, even on a weekend. I know that feeling. Yeah. Yeah. So I also have a request is if you can let me know what are you doing currently? Are you a student? Are you professional? Are you employed? Anything else? Just in the chat box, if you can put a word. I just want to get a sense. Tutor, says Roshan. Thank you, Roshan. Just allows me to know that I can give you examples that are more relevant to your context. So you can just put coach, self-employed. Thank you, Roy. Just one word to describe, what you're doing currently. Professional. Thank you, Kim. Self-employed. Super. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so I see a lot of us are professionals, and I'm going to keep that in mind while I'm going to share with you examples both from the professional and personal space. Today's topic is from chaos to clarity, and the whole idea is to leave you with some problem-solving, decision-making tools that can help us to think through problems more clearly and to make better, more sound decisions. So I want you to take a moment and think of what's some of the typical ways we tend to solve the problems that we face on a regular basis. And I'm sure you and I agree that from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, we are encountered by numerous problems. It could be simple problems, complex problems. It could be different decisions that you and I need to take. Right from the decision of whether I should snooze the alarm and sleep for another 10 minutes or jump out of bed, depending on all the tasks that I need to do. The problem of maybe getting stuck in traffic jams and deciding, okay, what are the alternatives I have to get to my destination on time? To bigger problems that happened, systems down, servers down. You've just received notice that, your household help is not coming, or somebody key in your business has attrited or left. These are all problems that we face. You will notice that typically you and me tend to solve our problems in one of these 5 ways. I'm not saying it's limited, but one of these 5 ways. Anyone based on the symbols can guess what we're talking about? You could put it in the chat box or just unmute and answer. What do you think I'm referring to? What are the 5 ways that you and me typically solve these problems? Okay, Christabel says first is logic. Close, Christabel. So you use some bit of your reasoning experience. Yes, Amrita, the third one talks about discussion. You know, you and I reach out to our peers, our mentors, colleagues, family to say, what do you think? You know, how do I solve this? Any thoughts? Yes, Vishaka, read up. You could do your research. Today, reading could be even Googling, asking Chat GPT even. Yeah. So use our knowledge, our experience. Correct. Correct, Lloyd. Yeah. Intuition. Yes, Brenda. The second symbol was for intuition. Yeah. So great. I think you guessed. These are the typical ways that we tend to solve problems on a day-to-day basis. You know, we might use our past experience and say, okay, last time when I experienced it, like Kim said, you know, past experience, this worked. So maybe I'll try that again. Why reinvent the wheel? Or we could say, what does my gut feeling say about what should I go with? Yeah. Or we could use a discussion. Like I said, you could call that phone a friend or colleague. You could do some research. Karen says she's seeing black boxes. Are you also experiencing a similar boxes? Are you able to see the screen correctly? Can you give me a yes, no, so I'm able to?
Yes, there are black
Now,
boxes.
now it's better.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is it's probably the panels on my screen. I don't know why they're causing it. So I've tried to minimize them and move it away.
Now it is
Uh,
okay.
Yeah, which also means I may not be able to see some of the chat responses, but I'll try and toggle or do my best. Yeah. And the last part that we do is trial and error. You know, sometimes we have no clue. We've not faced this problem before. So you say, let's see what happens if I do this. And then it either doesn't work, and then you realize this is not something that I should be doing in future. Or it works, bingo. And then you decide that, okay, I just stumbled upon a solution, but that's a great solution, so let's use it. So these are some of the typical ways we solve problems and make decisions we face. The challenge with that, however, is that sometimes, while a lot of times these have worked for us, you know, it's not always foolproof. We face certain challenges, and these challenges can get in the way of making really, really sound decisions or solving problems. Let's see what are some of these typical challenges that you and I can face. You know, when I go and consult people, their own past experiences, their positive or negative experiences can influence their suggestions to me. And that may not be necessarily the complete truth. Many of us have seen that even in a meeting, majority put up the hand and we quickly do a cast of vote. How many of us think we should do this? And people put their votes up, which is a very quick way of making decisions. But you and I know that majority may not always be right. Sometimes we put up our hands depending on who else has put up their hands, right? And therefore, all these group dynamics can sometimes impact the way we solve our problems in a negative way. Unconscious bias. You and I know that despite not doing it intentionally, because as humans, we face almost 11 pieces of information comes to our senses per second, and a lot of it is unconscious. And therefore, when we're trying to make sense of all this that is coming our way, all the things we are reading, seeing, hearing, sometimes we may jump to conclusions, we might have biases. I'll give you a very typical bias that I have seen, especially when it comes to, you know, hiring people or taking people in. You're doing a lot of interviews or you're trying to select something. What is the most recent option that you've selected or the most recent candidate that you've met for an interview? You're more likely to remember that in more vivid detail, which is known as the recency bias. And therefore, that could influence or add more weightage in your decision making. Many of times you and I have met somebody who happens to be from the same alumni or the same company that you worked before, or maybe the same state that you come from. And suddenly that person seems more similar, more familiar to you. And research shows that we tend to be positively biased towards people who share something in common with us as compared to someone we don't share anything in common. It could be both these people are equally competent or capable. Both solutions are possible, but we tend to get biased by anything that's similar to me. And there are a whole host of biases that can affect our problem solving. So if you're relying on just our intuition or sixth sense, all you know, you're actually making decisions based on these biases. Yeah. Then we also know emotions, that while all of us are human because of our emotions, especially when you and I are going through very intense emotions, positive or negative, it can affect our problem solving and decision making abilities. If those of us have had the experience of falling in love, we know the quote. In fact, my sociology professor used to say love is, blind, deaf, dumb, cockeyed, because of the fact that, it's sometimes not something that allows us to make a very clear decision. You will make decisions by the heart. There are also times that when you are extremely angry or anxious, you might have seen that your ability to think clearly gets clouded. Yeah. So intense emotions can affect your decision making. Because we are bombarded with so much of information, our brain does what we call as mental shortcuts or heuristics. We don't take the long cut of always going through and researching everything. We just say, okay, we make assumptions, we assume. If we have had a very positive experience with, say, for example, working with people with a particular community, I might just safely assume every other person I will meet from that cultural or religious community is like that. So we could resort to stereotypes or start generalizing, which sometimes helps us to save time, but many a time leads to wrong kinds of decisions. And the biggest thing today, we're living in the information age. Everything is available at the click of a button. And that leads to a lot of overload. And there are times when, because there's so much information, I might just skim the surface. I might not really deep dive. And all of this hampers our ability to solve problems. Yeah. I want you to put in the chat box what has been that one factor that you've personally experienced that has sometimes got in the way of your problem solving and decision making from what's mentioned. Anything that you've experienced that's come in the way of problem solving for you? What's been that one factor? What have you experienced? Information overload, yes. Bias, lack of cooperation, says Rosh. Fear,
Rohini,
yes.
your screen is great.
Are you able to see the screen now?
Yeah, there's another gray box on the top. I mean, can you just get that off?
Yeah, the only challenge is it's okay. Let me try.
Okay, there's one more
Is it
coming.
better? Is it better now?
Now there's one come the center. Can you get that?
Yeah, that will go right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Now it's better.
Huh?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so all of this comes in the way, and that prevents us from solving problems or making decisions correctly. And that's the reason why we're going to look at actually understanding how can we make better decisions despite all these challenges. What are some tools that you and I can use that can help us sort out the confusion, chaos, despite all these constraints, bring more clarity? Yeah. So I'm going to walk you through, a typical problem solving process may not necessarily always follow all these steps, or you may quickly move through it, but you'll see typically when you face a problem, you're first figuring out what is the problem. And then you're looking at what is the cause of the problem, what is causing it. That's the first step. And then you come to, generating solutions. Okay, now I know the problem. Let's think of what are some of the solutions, what alternatives do I have? That's the second step. Then comes the decision-making phase. You say, okay, from the solutions I have, what do I need to go with? And then, of course, you choose the best solution you think will work, implement it and see, did it work for me? Did it not work? So this is typically. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on the first three parts. We're not really covering how you implement the decision. How do you check if it's worked for you? We look at these three steps because that's essentially the solving and understanding the problem and decision part. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at tools to understand that. Yeah. The first step, which is defining the problem and analyzing the root cause. The tool that we're going to look at is what we call as the fishbone analysis. I'm sure some of you are seafood lovers and therefore would love this connection between fishbone and what you love to eat. So this was a problem-solving technique that was popularized by Dr. Ishikawa. It's also known as the cause, effect, and Ishikawa analysis. What you do here is, whatever is the problem you're trying to understand the root cause for, you write the problem on the right side in a box. And you draw a horizontal line. And then you find any way you want to classify all the reasons why that problem exists. So let's say, for example, you are trying to understand your health concerns. You're facing certain health concerns and issues, and you want to understand what is the reason why this is happening. So you say, okay, let me look at diet related. That would be one category. Let me look at exercise related. Let me look at my lifestyle or schedule. Let me look at any other miscellaneous factors. So you could choose 4 to 5 buckets or categories in which you would want to classify all the reasons why you are facing these health issues. And then you sit down and think, okay, I think I'm having a lot of tea and coffee and a lot of sugar. So in diet, you will extend a line and say too much sugar. Yeah. Or you may say, I don't think I'm having enough water and being hydrated. That could be another reason. And therefore, I'll draw another line. And where you see sub causes here, you keep extending reasons why you think the problem is occurring, but you draw the lines in the right category. Yeah. What this allows you to do is you get more clarity. You're able to see what could be all the possible reasons contributing to the problem. Normally, when we think of the most obvious reason. I think it's my food or it's a lack of exercise. We don't take everything into account. But when you do a pictorial representation, and the reason it's called a fishbone, I'm sure you agree with me, is because you see that the categories or the sub branches become the shape of a fishbone. Yeah. Just to give you a professional or a business context example, the fishbone can be used, for example, you're facing a lot of customer satisfaction issues or there's been a rise in complaints. You could say, okay, what kind of people-related reasons are causing the problem? Could be insufficient training, lack of motivation, attrition. Are there any process-related issues that are contributing to customer complaints? Is it related to certain policies we have? Is there a problem with measurement? Is there a problem with the environment we have? Is it with tools? What buckets or categories you use are completely up to you. You could use anything that makes sense or is relevant to your problem, or you could use the popular, people, price, process, products, the P's or the M's that you saw in the earlier slide. You could use any categorization that you feel relevant. And you could do this by yourself. You could also do this, as a team or a group if you're working with people, if you're working with your family or colleagues to understand what do you want to do to solve, what is causing this problem. Fishbone analysis works really, really well. You'd be, interested to know that, this Apollo 13 mission, the infamous mission, a lot of the NASA engineers realized that that whole mission failed because there was a malfunction of an oxygen cylinder. And they had used the fishbone analysis to really identify the cause quickly, be able to solve it and save the lives of the astronauts. So it's been a well-researched tool. You will see that there are several advantages of the fishbone. One is that it's visual. When I'm thinking of a problem and its causes just at the top of my head, there's a high chance that I may forget one cause or not be able to see it as an image. But when you write or you draw it, a picture speaks more than 1,000 words and you get more clarity to the problem. Fishbone also allows you not to just look at the symptoms of the problem. You go deeper. You might first think of the more obvious causes and write it down, but then it tells you what else. What else could be preventing or causing this problem? It prevents that blinker tunnel vision that we often have, that, the problem is because of this cause only, because in real life, you'll see most of the problems we face are not so simple that there's only one cause. There could be multiple causes and they could be interrelated. Once you've drawn the fishbone, a good idea would be to look at which category seems to have the most number of sub-branches, or which of those causes are directly within your control or something that you can do something about. So, for example, you looked at diet, exercise, lifestyle, and you realize that your health issues are a result of a lot of concerns related to these categories, and you say, hey, I can't change what I do as a profession right now. That's too much effort and too high risk, but I can definitely work on the diet part, or I can definitely work on the exercise. So this fishbone will allow you to get that clarity, allow you to know which category or which specific bucket do you want to focus on in deciding how do you take that problem forward. Yeah. So that's the fishbone for you. I've just put on the screen some of the typical ways in which it has been used in business, at work, whether it is understanding a quality issue, problems in your production process, if you're looking at understanding why a service is failing. In HR, you can look at it for what are the reasons why there is low employee engagement or a high attrition. Honestly, this is just an indicative list. The world is the canvas in terms of any problem that has multiple reasons can be used by doing a fishbone analysis. Research has shown that companies and organizations that used fishbone to actually get to the root cause ended up solving problems more effectively. And they were able to delve into complex problems much more deeper and come up with effective solutions. So I'm hoping that this is one tool that you will feel inspired to use the next time you're facing a personal or professional problem. Yeah, so that's the first tool. The fishbone analysis, like I said, it's for understanding the problem and solving, trying to identify the root cause. Let's move to the second stage. You've identified your causes, why the problem is occurring, whether it is for your health issue or the problem you're facing at work. Now comes, what do you do about it? How do you come up with solutions? A common way to do that is brainstorming. I'm sure we've used this term very often in our conversation and said, let's brainstorm. Yeah. Brainstorming is again something you can do individually as a person, but it works really, really well when you do it as a group or as a team of people. But did you know that a lot of times what you and I call brainstorming does not really follow the rules of brainstorming? If you really want brainstorming to work as a tool, it needs to follow certain guidelines to make sure that the ideas that come up from the brainstorming is really effective. So I'm going to share with you a few guidelines that can really help the next time you want to get your team or you're trying to ideate with your colleagues. What is it that you can do to make sure that you're really doing the brainstorming in a manner that is effective? Yeah. These were called as Osborne's rules because Osborne popularized, he was an advertising professional and he really used this a lot in the advertising industry to get ideas for campaigns, creatives, and then of course it started getting used for practically everything. Yeah. So few rules, very, very important foundational rule is when you're having people suggest ideas, do not judge or evaluate the idea at the same time. Let's say you're deciding to go for a vacation, the family, and you ask all your family members, where should we go? or if you're a professional, you're deciding to go for an offsite, or you're deciding which course you should do to, upskill yourself, and you're having a discussion with your peers and colleagues. If the moment I say an idea and you say, nah, that's such a boring idea, or no, it's not going to work, then I'm going to clamp up. I'm not going to speak. And many other people will look at the way you responded to me, and any potential ideas that were going to come up will not happen. Yeah. Also, don't look at practicality immediately. People have wild ideas better. You can always improvise them later. So don't say, no, it's not going to work. Put down the idea and record the idea anyway. It's absolutely okay to build on the ideas of others. Just like Anu Malik used to get inspiration from other people's tunes, if somebody gave an idea and that sparked a further idea, that's okay. Instead of saying no, but encourage people to say yes, and what else we can do is. Yeah. A lot of people think that brainstorming needs to come up with high quality ideas. Yes, of course, but please encourage a lot of ideas, because when you encourage a lot of ideas, the possibility of even one or two of them being really worthwhile increases. So even if there are lots of ideas on the board, more the merrier. And it's absolutely okay once you've put all the ideas on the board and you record these ideas, look at seeing which ones can be combined or merged. It's not that, everybody has to come up with separate original ideas. So these are some golden rules if followed. This along with ensuring that, if you're really wanting a good, high quality idea session, find a very comfortable meeting environment where it's free from distractions and people can think. You could clearly tell people what is the exact problem you want to solve. Like, I want to understand from you, how can we drive better employee engagement, or how can we make it a more happier place to work with? You tell them this is the problem statement, and these are some of the criteria or boundaries within which we're going to think today, if there are such boundaries. Yeah. Encourage people to speak up. The Japanese have this really nice way when they're brainstorming, they give people these slips of paper, you write your ideas. And when you're talking about your ideas, the youngest or the most junior most person in the room speaks first. That way you avoid groupthink, or you avoid, somebody senior speaking and everyone saying yes. So find ways in which everyone will speak up, not the same few people. There are a few introverts in the room. Maybe you can go round robin and say, all of you have to give an idea. You could give people time to think of the idea and come for the session, so that at least an initial base of ideas come, and that can lead to more ideas. Make sure someone is constantly recording ideas as people speak. And there's an overall, not just from you, from everyone, there is an enthusiastic, uncritical kind of attitude among people when people are brainstorming. You could use this even in the parish when you're trying to brainstorm, what should your ministry, cell, or association do for next year? You're putting your annual calendar in place. You could do it if you want to have a better, high quality ideation to decide, where should the family go next on a vacation. So it's got multiple uses. Yeah. A few things to remember is the recording of the ideas is really important. Many times when we record ideas, we list them one below the other. But one of the tools that you can use with brainstorming is called mind mapping. In this, you actually record ideas in the form of a diagram. You don't list it one below the other. You put the topic that you are brainstorming about in the center, right in the middle. And as people give different ideas, you keep drawing lines out and writing down keywords. You could even draw signs. You could put it in different colors. How creative you want to make your mind map is completely up to you. Yeah. Mind map and brainstorming can be done even individually. You can think of a topic you want to think of. Let's say you have an important meeting or a presentation to make, and you want to know where to start. You're very confused. Take a piece of paper, put the topic down, and whatever comes to your mind, just note it down. You'll be amazed at the number of ideas that can flow. And as you have ideas, if they have sub ideas, you can branch out again. There is no order that you follow in mind map. You can draw as many branches. The lines don't have to be neat and tidy. As long as you understand what you've written and drawn or put short forms, that's fine. Yeah. I'd like to give you an example of a mind map. This was a mind map that was used to increase customer engagement. All the ideas that were coming forth, you see a lot of branches. There are ideas on how to use social media for customer engagement, how to personalize it, how to use feedback. It's been, lots of branches and ideas. The beauty is after you finished mind mapping, you can take a snapshot of it or look at it and think which ones do you want to pick up now. So once you finish the brainstorming, once you've had lots of ideas to the mind map, that's the time when you move to the next stage of evaluating it. Don't do it while generating ideas because it's going to prevent your flow of ideas. So I'm going to let you have a sneak peek at my mind map that I did when I was preparing for this webinar. Good luck with understanding my handwriting. I'm a more pen and paper person. So I just take a sheet of paper, put the topics, I've put their dimensions webinar, and whatever thoughts that came to my mind about what to cover, what not to cover, how to do it. It's all on that mind map because I find a lot of ideas flow. Yeah. So I'd like you to do a quick exercise with me. If you can grab a pen and paper, any rough paper, any rough piece of paper if you have handy. And think of any topic you want to think or ideate about. Put that in the center of your page. It could be your wish list for the next year. It could be a certain meeting you have to prepare for. Anything, any topic of your choice you want to ideate about. Put that in the center like you see on the page. Preferably a landscape mode works well. And I'm going to give you a minute. As any thought or idea comes to your mind, can you draw out branches from that central topic and write keywords related to that idea? Don't worry of how one idea is connected to the other. Just keep extending branches and writing down any thoughts and ideas that are coming to you. If those ideas can be further subdivided into even fleshed out a little more, then branch it out further. Don't worry about the artistic beauty of the mind map. Just let the ideas flow.
Rohini, I can see the gray box come. There's one gray box that is
Yes,
coming
yes,
here.
yes.
Can you
I'm
remove
just
that
there.
off?
So it's, yeah. I will remove it. It's just for me to see people. It's very difficult for
Okay.
me to speak to my screen only. So I will remove it when we have
Okay.
a meeting. Whatever comes to your mind, just put it down. Even if it's not making complete sense to you. You could put keywords, you could put symbols, you could put images, short forms, doesn't matter. Remember, your mind map needs to make sense to you. Okay. How is the experience? Anyone wants to share in the chat box or unmute and quickly answer?
Challenging.
Challenging, yeah. We're not used to often thinking on a blank canvas.
And like lateral thinking, you say, no, you think you're writing the wrong word, but it may
Correct.
lead to some solution. Just,
Correct.
just my personal.
Yes, of course, of
But it
course.
challenges the mind. It's exciting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
And you will notice as you spend even 5 minutes on this exercise, if you put a stopwatch, you spend 5 minutes, you could actually have the paper filled with thoughts and ideas. Yeah. The trick is once you've finished your mind map, give it a break, let it marinate, do something unrelated, come back with some highlighters or ways to, then highlight looking at your entire picture. Which idea or thoughts do you want to pick up and make? Or which solutions do you want to choose? To shortlist among your best solutions to the problem. So if you're thinking, okay, what do I do about vacations? I'm thinking of where to go, where else to go. So I've thought of lots of ideas, and then I say, okay, these are the top 3 or 4 ideas which I think I want to go with. You could choose from the list. Yeah. So quite a few advantages of brainstorming. It definitely encourages creativity. This has been proved by research. You can see ideas connected. You can see the relations between ideas. It's a lot of flexibility. When you list ideas and someone gives you an idea that's related to idea number 2, then we have to cut it out and it's very clumsy. But here you can keep extending branches and sub-branches in any direction. And typically brainstorming with mind map has been used in a variety of applications, as you can see. Google, for example, actually allocates 20% of employees' times just for brainstorming. Apple has often used mind maps to get people to, when they're brainstorming, to put their ideas down in, your iPhone accessories and a lot of other products and innovations have been born from those mind maps. So a really, really good tool, both brainstorming and mind mapping, to generate solutions. You can do it individually, you can do it as a group. Those of you who are not pen and paper persons, there are a lot of tools available. There's Miro.com, Miro.com, where you can actually create a mind map virtually and share it with your colleagues to allow them to collaboratively also add ideas. So you can do a group mind map remotely also together. Yeah. We move on to our last step. Let's say you've got lots of solutions and you now need to make a decision. This is the crucial part of your problem solving process. And how do you make the decision? You'll be surprised many times when we're making decisions, we're actually comparing apples to oranges and we're going by our intuition or gut feel. We're not doing it in the most objective manner. And that's where decision-making matrix comes in. I'm sure if you've ever been a judge or seen a judge scoring sheet for, say, a fancy dress competition or whatever, you will see that they put these columns where they put criteria on which they're going to assess the people who are participating. Decision-making matrix is basically a table where all the solutions you have shortlisted, you list them down, and then you decide your top 3, 5 criteria, which are really important to you, on which you are going to evaluate each of these solutions. If you feel some of the criteria have more importance than the others, then you can assign a weight to them. You could say, for example, you see on screen, I've decided that I have 5 candidates and I know which one to shortlist. Now, I know Melvin very well, but I will still not go with my relation to Melvin. I will put his name also in the candidates list. And I say, okay, I want to make my decision basis qualification, relevant experience, time they need to join us, and the overall cost in terms of salary or remuneration. I've also decided from this, the CTC and the experience will be the most important. So you see a 30% weightage. And what I do is on a score of 1 to 10, based on how Anita is in terms of her qualification to the role, experience, I give a score. And if I've put weights there, you can multiply that score by the weights. So if you look at Anita Pinto, she's 6 on qualifications. I've multiplied that by 0.25 because it's a 25% weightage. All the scores you see in red are weighted scores. Now that's optional if you want to put a weight. And then I total it up. By doing this, who do you think will get the job role if I go purely by this decision matrix? Who's got the highest total score? Sanjay, right? So this is a great way to allow you to compare and make comparisons and allow you to, compare things very objectively. The benefits of decision making or the decision matrix analysis is you can objectively evaluate solutions. You can prioritize key factors, make sure that there is, a lot of transparency. Even if you've made a decision, it becomes really easy to explain to others. And some of
Excuse me,
yeah,
can you just show the
yes,
previous screen, please? Previous one.
this one,
Yes,
this one,
yes. Yeah,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is a great way when you're deciding to select, for example, vendors. You want to make a hiring decision. You want to buy a smartphone or a new house or a car, and you want to decide from the shortlisted options which one to go for. You could use any of these, this technique to, put your top 4-5 options, put the criteria, and, decide which one to go for in terms of choosing or selection. Yeah. So if you notice, we've actually talked about 3 essential tools, or rather 4 if you count brainstorming. We've covered the fishbone analysis. We've covered, which is more to understand root causes. We looked at brainstorming as a technique to get high quality ideas and solutions. And we also said that mind mapping could be a great way to record those ideas. And finally, we talked about the decision table or decision matrix analysis, which allows us to choose the right solution. So I'm hoping that if we use these tools, the decision-making matrix, by the way, Amazon has used this greatly to decide any acquisitions they want to do, what are the criteria they're going to evaluate those acquisitions before they go ahead. Yeah. Or Toyota for deciding a new product or development, they will keep these criteria and evaluate all the options before they go ahead. So they're making more informed, objective decisions. So you and I can use these, even in our own spaces to make better decisions. I'd like to conclude this with a short story. There was this farmer who had a daughter, and he owed a lot of debt to this money lender in his village. And this money lender was a shrewd, cruel money lender who had a fancy for the farmer's daughter. So he told the farmer that, if you give me your daughter in marriage, then I can let go of the debt. But he saw this very alarmed, emotional reactions on the face of the farmer and his daughter. And so he decided to make it a little more better deal. So he said, okay, let's do one thing. I'm going to pick up these pebbles from the ground. I'll pick up a black pebble and a white pebble from the ground and put it in my empty purse and ask your daughter to pick up. If she picks up a black pebble, she will marry me and you go free of your debt. If she picks up a white pebble, she doesn't need to marry me and you go free of your debt. If she does not pick up a pebble, then you will go to jail because you still owe me the money. So you can imagine the dilemma of the daughter. If she picks up the black pebble, then her life is doomed. Yeah, she has to sacrifice. White pebble, she doesn't know what's the probability, how will it come? And if she doesn't choose also, she's, stuck. And When this moneylender bends down, he very smartly and shrewdly picks up two black pebbles quietly, hoping nobody has noticed, and puts it in his purse. But the daughter had observed it, and she knows that now either of which she picks up is going to be a black pebble. So that's making her situation even trickier. But the daughter reaches out into that purse, takes out one pebble and quickly drops it on the ground. On the ground, there were many pebbles strewn. And she says, "Oops, I'm sorry. I don't know where that pebble went. But no problem. Based on the pebble that is in the purse, I'm sure we'll figure out the one that I dropped." So she reaches out and says, "Oh, this is a black pebble. So maybe the one that was on the ground, the one that I'd originally picked up, was a white one." Moneylender did not want to admit that he had, cheated. And using her creativity and her clarity in thinking, she was actually able to solve what seemed to be a really, really difficult problem. Yeah, I think one of the takeaways for us is that, a lot of times some of the problems that we face do sound very overwhelming. And due to the emotions involved, due to, some of the problems that we encounter, those problems might seem quite complex to us. So a lot of times when we use these tools and we ensure that we are having a clear mind, we're able to come up with some really simple and effective solutions that can help us make much better decisions. Yeah. I would really appreciate if you could share feedback scanning the QR code. I've also put down some resources or books that I have gone to frequently to understand and improve my own toolkit of problem solving. What I shared was a tip of the iceberg of some techniques. There are a lot of such interesting tools that you can use if you want to be a better critical thinker, better problem solver. So with that, I conclude, and I'm open to any questions or comments that you may have.
Rohini, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, Mr.
Okay. So, when you were talking about doing the mind map, okay, so I did a
Yes.
preliminary mind map and I sent you on WhatsApp. So, I often
Okay.
have this whole thing of deciding topics to write about on LinkedIn or for my clients or for
Correct.
people who reach out to me to write. So
True.
there is always this dilemma key next month, what do I do? So is mind mapping a good technique? I mean, I really found that I could initiate some ideas
Yes.
using the mind map.
Yeah, I'm
So
looking at your mind map and I'm surprised within less than a minute the amount of topics you've come. It is the best technique to use that, Christabel. I use it for every single training program. I start with a mind map, and the amount of
okay.
ideas that flow are amazing. So I would say spot on mind map would be really, really useful for somebody in content writing like you.
Oh, thanks, Rohini. This is a good one for me.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm not able to see the chat box, unfortunately, because if I open it up, it arrives at black boxes. So I'll encourage you to unmute or someone tell me if there is a comment in the chat box.
No, there are no questions in the chat box. There are no
Okay.
questions. Rohini, can you stop sharing?
Yes, sure.
Rohini,
Yeah.
sometimes you have a problem and, I try to solve it by my subconscious mind. Is that wrong?
So that's not wrong, Alan. Subconscious mind is known to be 6,000 times more powerful than our conscious mind. So it's definitely good that you're tapping into it. But your subconscious mind is more like a sponge. It absorbs what is often on your conscious mind. So if you can channel your conscious mind to think clearly about problems, your subconscious mind will be able to help your conscious mind do a much better job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Everybody, please switch your cameras on. Yeah, go ahead with the questions in the Q&A.
Anyone else had a question? I think, is there any questions? Okay.
Your mind mapping was a good exercise. I will do it from today.
Sure. It's one of my favorite problem-solving tools. I have even used tissue papers to do it sometimes when I've missed out on paper, but it has always bailed me out, and it's come up with some really high quality ideas. As you get used to it, your mind mapping will get faster.
Thank you.
Rohini, I think the fishbone analysis, what you explained, I think I need to explore more. I think it can be a great tool for problem solving, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I have
think
used this a lot in consulting with some of my clients who say, we are facing a problem with employee satisfaction, and they state very obvious reasons. But when we actually create a fishbone, the amount of causes that come to the surface, the solutions then that we take are not just band-aid solutions. You end up looking at the problem deeper, understanding why is there. Is it a, connection issue? Is it a people issue? Is it a policy? And the solutions you take then will be much more holistic rather than just look at the top of the surface at the most obvious cause and go with it. Yeah, so I would completely agree that the fishbone has been something that has been allowing you to delve deeper into the problem rather than just look at the symptoms as causes.
Yeah, we have time for one more question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so can that, I think, because see, we have many people have many tasks to do on a daily basis, and we do not know from where to start, what to do, prioritize, and stand confused, stand incompleted. All these things are there. I don't know, this analysis will help to get organized and prioritize with a short term, mid-term, and long-term, action plans or to-do list, whatever kind of things. I don't know whether that will it will give a structure to get ourselves organized. Even can you help me to understand that?
So Timothy, just to put it in perspective, for example, if you have a lot of things on your head and you don't know where to start, better tool would be the mind map, where you write every single thing that's on your mind that you think needs to get done first. Once you've put it down, then you can use any to-do list, any prioritization tool to bucket it, to say, okay, which is urgent now from this whole list, which is important, which is urgent and important. And then from that mind map, you can put it into buckets. But start with the mind map because you're emptying all the load on your head onto paper. And when you see it on a single sheet of paper, it is going to be far more easier to work at it and decide which one needs attention, which can wait, which needs to be delegated, which needs to be avoided.
Okay, thank you so much, Rohini. Thank you for the session, and thank you everybody for coming. I would now request Loretta Rego-Sapi to do the vote of thanks and the closing prayer.
Dear Roshni, on behalf of everyone here, our members and esteemed guests, I extend a heartfelt gratitude for your enlightening session on From Chaos to Clarity. Your expertise in problem solving, critical thinking, and decision making equipped us with essential tools to tackle challenges with confidence. We appreciate the time and effort you have invested in preparing this session, and we are inspired to implement your strategies in our personal and professional lives. Thank you once again for your invaluable time, insights, and for sparking meaningful discussions among us. Thank you, Rohini.
Thank you, Loretta.
Melville, can we see the recording later?
Yeah, Alan, let's finish with this. I'll connect with you later. Loretta, we can close with the closing prayer.
Yeah. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for gathering us today and for the wisdom shared. As we move forward, guide us to apply these insights with clarity and purpose, transforming challenges into opportunities. Grant us wisdom patience, and humility in our work. Bless our journeys as entrepreneurs and guide us as we go. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Loretta. Thank you so much, Rohini. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you,
attending. Have a nice
Rohini.
weekend.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much,
Thank you,
Dimension.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohini.
Thank you, Rohini.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rohini.
Rohini.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rohini. Thanks
Thank
a lot.
Thank
you.
you, Melvin.
Thank you,
Bye.
Melvin.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Rohini. You're really super, yeah. Didn't know that part of you.
Yeah.